What's up, guys? Back today for another video. Our spring was short-lived. We had a few 80-degree days, but last night we got snow again. So as you can see, the roads are pretty much shitty. They're not the worst ever, but they're not the best. So that means today we're going to be stuck inside working on the car. I am going to be swapping out my front brake calipers. I got some OEM SRT4 calipers. The ones that are on my car now are rusted. Whoever had the car before me replaced the original ones. I guess they were sticking, and they put these aftermarket ones in there, not red. They just look like crap. So I'm gonna put on some OEM style, and then I'm gonna swap out the brake fluid with the RBS 600 high temp brake fluid. And I got some new lug nuts. I got MUTEKI lug nuts. They're the deep open end lug nuts. I do have new studs for the front tires ordered, some extended studs, but they're back ordered until, I want to say, they're back ordered for a few more weeks. So whenever those things get straight, I'll have them and we'll be installing them in the car. But for now, we're gonna knock out this stuff and I'll keep you guys posted. My name is Zach Ellis and welcome to my journey. I don't know where I'm going or how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to be tearing shit up every step of the way. Along with a few friends, of course. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll be building, modifying, repairing, fabricating, and racing every chance I get. But if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and of course, enjoy the video. Cold in here, freezing. All right, we made it back to the shop, and then as you saw, I was unloading something out of my truck. What that was actually my welding cart that I made. A few years ago, I made this welding cart. So it's got swivel casters in the front, solid wheels with ball bearings in the rear. I've got my TIG welder on the bottom. I got the TIG 200 by Eastwood, and I've got the MIG 250 on the top. On the back, I've got my argon and my CO2 argon tanks. And then I just made this little chain set up to support the bottles to keep them from falling over. As you can see, it's a giant mess of wires. This is all my TIG welding stuff with my TIG welding gas. This is an extension cord that goes to each connector. So it's a little messy right now. I don't have my regulators hooked up either, just because I'm not planning on using them today, so there's no reason for me to hook them up. And then I have my little holder for my filler rod. So it's aluminum. I have aluminum, stainless steel in this one, and then just my MIG wire or carbon steel in the other container. The only issue that I have with this cart right now is you can see there's a little gap between that wheel and that frame. On this side, it is touching in the back side. So I bent the axle in the back. Because I had bottles on there and I stood on it and I was like, oh, it's freaking good, it's never gonna move. It moved. So I've got to, it's a bad design on my part with the axle. There's about 4 inches of overhang before the tire bolts up, which is creating a lot of leverage, and it bent that stainless steel rod down there. So I just got to weld a little gusset between the outside of the frame to that axle, so there's not so much overhang. That'll limit it from 3 or 4 inches down to about a 1/2 inch, so there won't be nearly as much leverage on that axle, and we won't have any rubbing issues. But I'm happy to have this thing over here. Hopefully, well, I have plenty of welding projects I have to do, but for now I'm just going to focus on the SRT4 and get it squared away. But now that I got all this stuff mobile, I can move it around out of my way as I need to. So I can just stick this back in the corner. It'll be out of the way until I need it, and I can knock out the SRT4. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna jack the SRT4 up, I'm gonna remove the wheels, pop the hood, and we're gonna start flushing that brake fluid and swapping out to the new calipers. Alright, so I just got all the wheels off the car. I got the fronts and the backs taken off. And I've got the other brake calipers here on the table. Again, the only reason I'm swapping out these stock ones, or the ones that are on the car currently, is because they look like crap. That's the only reason. These brake calipers here are just OEM style, so they're red already. Which, again, I'm just on it because it looks better than the rusty ones. Then you're probably wondering why I took the rear tires off, and it's actually because I've got new lug nuts for all of them. So I'm going to be swapping out the lug nuts, and then I'm going to I might service the coilovers here while I got the car up in the air as well. So I'll drop all of them out. Actually, I probably won't drop them out. I'm just going to break all of the retaining nuts loose to make sure that everything moves freely, and then button it all back together. Just, with the season of running these things, grit and dirt gets in between the threads and these things get seized. I bought these secondhand, and it took me like 2 weeks to get all of those nuts loosened. I ended up having to use like a pipe wrench on them to break them free. Then I'd take them off the car. I had to cut all of them with a cutoff wheel, break them all off, and buy all new retaining bolts. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and mitigate that from happening in the future by servicing them before the season starts. But for now, I'm gonna start working on swapping out these calipers and then bleeding the brakes. So we got the car up in the air. We've got the 2 new brake calipers both installed. Now we're gonna go ahead and start the bleeding process. When I changed the two calipers out, I kind of let the hoses dangle and just let all that fluid fall out. That pretty much emptied out the master cylinder, the reservoir for the brake fluid. So the first thing I'm going to do is top that thing off. I'm going to fill it up to the very top, well, close to the top. Then I'm going to go to the far right corner, start bleeding that one out. Once I get some fresh fluid in there, I'm going to jump to the back left, then to the front right, and then to the front left. You want to work at the furthest point away from the master cylinder as possible and work towards it. So back right, back left, front right, front left. The process is pretty straightforward, but I'll video it so you can kind of see what I'm doing. The one tool I am using for this is I got a Harbor Freight brake bleeder. Pretty simple. Attach this to the nipple on the brake caliper, pump the handle. It's going to build up pressure. Then you use your, in this case, 11mm wrench, crack the bleeding nipple open, and it's going to bleed and fill this reservoir up. It's a pretty straightforward process, so I'll video it. I'm not going to talk a whole lot over it, and we'll get this wrapped up. Alright, so I filled the little container. That's 120 milliliters. I'm going to empty it out and I'm going to try and fill it up again. Only because the SRT4s hold roughly 1.5 to 2 pints of brake fluid. So I'm going to try and run a whole pint through just in the rear two corners because the most brake fluid is going to be in the rear. And then I have a second pint to try and get the front. I just want to ensure that I have all the old brake fluid out. I don't want any of the old stuff left behind. So I'm going to overdo the bleeding process a little bit just to give me peace of mind. All right, so we just did our second complete container, which it's looking much clearer now. I'm going to go ahead, wrap up this corner, and then I'm going to hop on the back left. And I'm just going to keep going all the way to the front. So I'll get back with you guys when I finish the front left corner. Alright, so we got all the brakes bled. I swapped out the front calipers on both sides to the stock style red ones. And now the last upgrade we have to do today is the lug nuts. So this here is my stock lug nut. Nothing fancy. It's a short one. It is a closed end design so the lug nut does not pass all the way through. And this is the new one that I got. They are MUTEKI SR48s. So basically it's a deep lug nut and it's a pass-through design. So if you have extended lug nuts or extended wheel studs, they can extend past through here and you get much more engagement. The threading goes about 3/4 of the length. So with that all being said, I'm going to go ahead, throw the wheels back on this car, tighten up the lug nuts to see how they look. I'm going to keep the car elevated just because I plan on coming back tomorrow, hopefully again, like I said, to mess with the coilovers. But I do want to see what they look like, at least on this front left corner, get an idea of what we're looking at. I went with the silver color. They had black, red, blue, fucking gold. But I just wanted to keep it simple. The wheel is very black and aluminum looking anyway, so I just went with something that's gonna blend in. I didn't want to have red lug nuts or anything. Personally, I think it's a little bit too much on a car, depending on the application. But either way, I'm gonna throw this wheel on and hopefully it looks all right. Alright, so lug nuts are on. Now that I see them on the car, I'm wondering if maybe I should have gone with black. I don't hate the chrome look, but I think maybe black would look better just with having a little bit more contrast rather than all of this aluminum look. I don't know. I can't tell. Let me know in the description what you guys think. I think they look alright, but Still not sure if black would have been better. I might even just buy a second set of black ones. These lug nuts were like, I think it was 70 bucks for 20, so for the whole car, 70 bucks for the whole car. And it comes with the tool for the deep sockets, or for the deep lug nuts, which is nice. But either way, got the wheel and the brake set up in there. I think the red caliper is much better. It just doesn't look like a piece of crap. Even though these calipers are a little dinged up, that's whatever. I'm not too concerned with that. But yeah, so got the car completely, brakes are completely bled. Wheels are on, well, one wheel's on. I got the new lug nuts on the car, which, you know, not 100% sold on them, but they look, I think they look better than the stock ones. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this up here. I appreciate you guys sticking around for the video. I hope you're enjoying this content. If there's anything you want to see me do more of, or something you think I should do, or suggestions, just leave it in the comment section down below so I know. I will catch you guys in the next video.